Good afternoon, Shana Tova, Chatima Tova, and welcome back. As I was reflecting on the Yizkor service, it felt a little weird. So I decided to write a letter to God. I expressed not necessarily my personal opinion, but what I think many of us together feel at this moment. Dear God, so many things I love were taken away from me this year, and I learned to live without them. But not having a proper Yizkor hit me hard. At first, I wasn't sure I needed it. After all, the last 6 months felt like a never-ending Yizkor service, with death hovering everywhere, completely disregarding the courtesy of social distancing. The truth is that even in an ordinary year, Yizkor is tricky. Just the thought of it fills me with apprehension, and at the same time, it is the last service I want to miss. It's like standing in line for a really scary roller coaster. I dread the moment I get on the ride, yet I cannot wait for my turn to arrive. I hate the pain that I thought was long gone, but never fails to pierce my heart with the first sound of the cantor's voice. And I love that pain that confirms that I kept the promise to remember, to love, to walk in their way. I hate to cry in public among strangers. Crying should be done in private. And I love to cry among those strangers about whom I know only one thing. We all shed the same kind of tears, those that come with losing someone we love. I hate the Hebrew prayers. I don't know the language, and when I read the translation, they make even less sense. And I love those Hebrew prayers because they have been with my family for so many generations, the only heirloom I still have. But can I have all of it this year without my synagogue, my friends, and the strangers? I don't really know that I have a choice. As much as I want to protest, I cannot simply decide to sit in my room on Yom Kippur afternoon and not think about my dead loved ones. The only thing I can do is to open the computer at 5 p.m. again, place the yahrzeit candle and some pictures on the table near me, and sing and pray and cry and hate it and love it, like I do every year, because that is what they would have done.
We read together.
Eternal God, we ask your help, for our need is great. Our days fly past in quick succession, and we cannot look back without regret or ahead without misgiving. We seek to understand the mystery of our own lives, but our effort is in vain. And when suffering and death strike those we love, our faith all but fails us, and we forget that we are your children. God, help us now to feel your presence. When our own weaknesses and the storms of life hide you from our sight, help us to know that you are with us still. Uphold us with the comfort of your love.
In one of the books I recently read about Winston Churchill, I learned that the first time he dialed the phone by himself was when he was 73 years old. And he rang it when he wanted to check the time by calling the speaking clock, and then thanked it politely when he got the time. That story reminded me of another old story about a phone. It was written in the 1960s and tells about a boy who was really amazed by the new phone that his parents installed in the house. It was one of the very old-fashioned phones, a brown wooden box hung on the wall with a receiver, and you had to talk to the mouthpiece. He loved watching his mother talking to other people. And then one day he learned that somewhere inside of this box there is a person by the name of Information Please. And that person was so smart. She knew of anyone's phone numbers, and always she had the correct time. One day, his mother went to visit the neighbors, and he stayed home by himself. He went down to the basement to play with his father's tools. Of course, he was not allowed to do that, and ended up whacking his finger. There was no point in crying because there was no one there to give him any sympathy. So he walked up the stairs of the basement, and his finger was really throbbing. And then he knew exactly what to do. He dragged the chair from the living room, put it just underneath the phone, took the receiver, and talked to the mouthpiece. Information, please. And a soft, nice voice answered, Information. And he said, I hurt my finger. And the tears started to flow down now when he had some audience. And the voice asked him, "Is your mom home?" And he said, "No, I'm here all by myself and it really hurts." She asked him, "Is it bleeding?" He said, "No." "Do you know how to open the ice box?" she asked. And he said, "Yes, I do." So she said, "Go, chip off a piece of ice and hold it to your finger." Since that day, he used to call information please all the time. He called her when he needed help with homework. He called her when he didn't know how to solve a math problem. When he got a geography homework, she told him exactly where Philadelphia was. And one day, when Petty, his pet canary, died, he called her to share the sad news. In the beginning, she talked to him like all the adults talk to children when something like that happened, and she couldn't comfort him. He told her, "I really don't understand. It's not fair. How come this beautiful bird who sang so nicely and made my entire family happy all the time ended up being a heap of feathers on the bottom of a cage?" And then she told him, "Sometimes we need to sing in other worlds." And for some reason, it comforted him. Then he called to ask her, "How do you spell fix?" When he was 9 years old, the family left the Pacific Northwest, where they lived in a tiny town, and moved to Boston. As he was growing up, he remembered so fondly these conversations he had with information please. At that time, he appreciated how she took the time, and she was so kind, understanding, and patient to this little boy she has never seen. Now he grew up, he was in university, and one day he flew back to the West Coast where his sister lived, just in the same small town where they all grew up. On a whim, he picked up the phone and called the local operator, said, "Information, please." And the familiar, soft, kind voice said, "Information." He asked, "How do you spell fix?" And after a pause, the voice said to him, "I assume that by now your finger must have healed." He asked her, "Is it really you?" And she said, "Yes." And they started to talk, and he told her how much he appreciated the fact that she took the time to talk to him, how kind she was, how helpful she was when he felt lonely. And she said, "And I want you to know how much I appreciated when you called me. I never had kids of my own, and I was really looking forward to you calling me." She told him that her name was Sally, and they agreed that next time when he's back in town, he will call her. 3 months later, he was back in town, called the local operator, but another voice answered the phone. He asked to talk to Sally, and the woman said, "Is she a friend of yours?" He said, "Yes, an old friend." "In this case," she said, "I'm really sorry to let you know that Sally has been sick for a while, and 5 weeks ago she died." Before he hung up the phone, she asked, "Is your name by any chance Paul?" He said, "Yes." "In this case," she said, "Sally left a message for you should you ever call." She took the note and read, "Dear Paul, I want you always to remember that we can always sing in other worlds." During Yizkor, we remember many people, family members, friends. I always try to remember the different people in my life who were just like Sally, the information please from the phone. People I didn't know well, but they just did the right thing by me, just said the right thing. And because of them, I think I got where I got. They really helped to direct the trajectory of my life. So I use this Yizkor to remember them, to thank them, and to do something more. The best way to appreciate them is to become an information please person to somebody else.
Harofel ich vor ein Lev ומחבש לעצבותם מונה מספר לכוכבים לכולם שמות יקרא Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of our wounds, counter of
about to continue with the 23rd Psalm, the psalm that begins with the famous words, "The Lord is my shepherd." The main reason we read this psalm at funerals and now at Yizkor is the middle that says, "Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." When we lose a loved one, we find ourselves in this valley of death, and we ask God to be there with us and ultimately to help us walk through it and get out of there. This year, some of us ended up in this valley of the shadow of death, but many of us lived in a constant fear that we were walking on the edge of this valley and can fall into it at any moment. So we're praying to God, please protect us. Help us not to fall into this valley. And if we do, please be with us. Hold our hands so we'll be able to walk through it and to get out of it.
We continue by reading the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Adonai ro'i lo echsar, hino sheyar bitzeni, al mei menuchot yenaleni. Nafshi shaveh v'shovev, yancheni b'mangelei tzedek, yancheni b'mangelei tzedek, leman shemo. Come, King. Adonai Roi lo echsar. Adonai Roi lo echsar.
If you place some pictures on the table, if you have a Yortzeit candle, just look at them. Take it all in as I invite you to slowly to close your eyes. During these silent moments, let's take a journey into the hearts of our loved ones. Now imagine walking into a room, perhaps a room in the home in which you grew up. Shut the door and envision your beloved father or mother, husband or wife, sister or brother, son or daughter, other relative or friend. Look into their eyes, touch their hands, and feel their skin. Listen to their voices. Let's speak with our loved ones. What do we want to say that we didn't when they were alive? Perhaps we will say, I am a new mother or a new father, and then introduce them to the child they never met. Or show them how the little grandchild has grown since they left. We may share professional news. Maybe we will say, thank you for all you did. We might apologize for hurting them or grant them forgiveness. Or we might simply say, I love you and miss you so very, very deeply. During these moments, see them, hear them, touch them, and make peace with yourself, your loved ones, and with God. Then you will have transformed these ordinary moments into sacred moments. A 4-year-old boy lived next to an older gentleman who had just lost his wife. One day, when the boy heard his neighbor cry, he went to his yard and sat on his lap. When the boy's mother asked him what he had said to the older gentleman, he said, "Nothing. I just helped him cry." Sometimes the best thing to do is to keep silent.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share. And no one dare disturb the sound of silence. Fools said I, you do not know. Silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the wells of silence. And the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made, and the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was for me. And the sign said the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, whispered in the sounds of silence.
At the rising of the sun and in its going down,
We remember them.
at the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter,
We remember them.
at the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring,
We remember them.
at the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer,
we remember them.
At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn.
We remember them.
At the beginning of the year and when it ends.
We remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength.
We remember them.
When we are lost and sick at heart.
We remember them.
When we have decisions that are difficult to make.
We remember them.
When we have joys we crave to share.
We remember them.
For as long as we live, they too shall live. For they are now a part of us, as we remember them.
El malei rachamim, shochein bamromim, hamsei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina, im kedoshim utorim, kezohar harakia mazhirim, lenishmot, yakirinu shalchu leolamam, Baal harachamim yastirem, beseter knafav leolamim. Veitzror bitzror achayim et nishmatam, Adonai hu nachalatam. Ve'anuchu v'shalom amishkavam, ve'nomar Amen.
We continue with these words in English. Merciful God, God Most High, let there be perfect rest for the souls of our loved ones who have gone into eternity. May they find shelter in your presence among the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold them close to you forever. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May they find a home in you, and may they rest in peace. Together we say, Amen.
As we prepare for the Kaddish, let's read together.
May God's name be sanctified and praised. May God's design for this world, for us and our people, lead us to justice and good. May God who decreed that all who live must die, teach us to accept death, yet with all our hearts desire life. May God, whose plan for us is sometimes hidden, reveal the way to become stronger, having faced the trials of life. And may God, Oseh HaShalom, be for us a source of comfort, strength, and peace.
Together we say, Amen. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה ולעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, יעשה שלום עלינו, עושה שלום
We continue now with Ne'ilah, the closing prayer for Yom Kippur. Normally, when we have hundreds of you at this point, many people get up and go to their break the fast dinners, and we are left with a smaller group for Ne'ilah, and then we break the fast together. Today it will be a different kind of Ne'ilah. I hope that you will be staying with us. Let's read together.
The long day is over, and the gates are closing. Slowly day fades into dusk. Soon the earth will darken. Our bodies weak and weary, our inner strength undiminished. This day has been a gift, uncluttered time, free from hurry and routine, appointments or assignments. A time to face our sins and imperfections, our dreams and yearnings for the life we want to live. A time to leave the clamor of the world and attend to the voice within. Long ago, the temple gates were locked at dusk. So too, at this hour, the gates of Yom Kippur begin to close. Have we done all that needed to be done? Said everything that needed to be said? The gates of God's compassion never close, but soon enough, our lives close in on us. Now, in the silence of the soul, now before the holy day comes to an end, release the unshed tears, the deepest prayers locked in our hearts.
El Nora Lila, El Nora Lila, Am Selanu Mechila, Bishata Leila, Temis Parkerorim, Chayno Sim Saladin, Bechila, Bishata Leila, El Nora Lila, El Nora Lila, Am Selanu Mechila, Bishata Leila. Gadol Beit Kadash Shenmei Rabbah Beyalma Divrach Hirotei V'yamlich Malchotei Mechayechon V'yomechon Chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala Uvizman Kariv Veimeru Amen.
Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alach U'amei Amaya Yitbarach
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrama v'yinaseh v'yitada v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekodesha b'richu Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbihata v'nechemata tamiran be'alma v'yimeru Amen.
We're going to say the prayer of Avinu Malkeinu for the last time during the High Holidays. This prayer during Ne'ilah is different from all the other prayers. Before, we said, Avinu Malkeinu Kotvenu. We ask God to inscribe us in the book of life. During Ne'ilah, we say Chotmenu, as we ask God to seal us in the book of life. And we read responsively, Avinu Malkeinu, Kabel berachamim uvratzon et tfilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh leman rachamecha harabim.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for the sake of your boundless compassion.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu leman shmecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, chotmeinu besefer parnasa v'chalkala.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of sustenance and livelihood.
Avinu Malkeinu, chotmeinu besefer zechuyot.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of worthiness and merit.
אבינו מלכנו, חותמנו בספר סליחה ומחילה.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of forgiveness and pardon.
אבינו מלכנו, חותמנו בספר חיים טובים.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of lives well lived.
אבינו מלכנו, חותמנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
Avinu Malkeinu, seal us in the book of redemption and renewal.
אבינו מלכנו, מלא ידינו מברכותיך.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings.
אבינו מלכנו, פתח שערי שמיים לתפילתנו.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer.
אבינו מלכנו, חדש עלינו שנה טובה.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew us for a year of goodness.
אבינו מלכנו, אין לנו מלך אלא אתה.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have no sovereign but you.
אבינו מלכנו, חוננו ועננו כי אין בנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace when our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu Vaneinu, Ki Emanu Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam
And before we get together to break the fast, let's say Hamotzi.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shana Tova, Chatima Tova. Thank you for celebrating Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur with us.
Yitgada ve'yitgada Shemei Amen. Ve'amad yivrach yiratei Amalek malchutei v'chayevon uvyomevon uvayedecho b'Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kariv ve'imenu Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam Rodei Amei Amaya Yitbarach Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitba'ar ve'yitroma ve'yitnaseh ve'yithada ve'yitale ve'yitala shemelech kudusha v'yichu le'ela u'lena mikol birchata v'shirata tushmechata ve'nechemata da'amira le'alameinu Amen. Titkabel tzavavot v'aton l'chol beit Yisrael kadavavu b'shemaya ve'imperu Amen. Yehish lanu Rabba min Shemaya Chagim Aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'imperu Amen. La